Which player makes you sick at their current dynasty value? We're giving our top player at each position we're all the way out on in 2024.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. We're your hosts Calvin Timms and Dale Terry, and we're back with another episode. Sorry for the delay if you're watching this live. I was having some technical difficulties. My mic just decided not to work randomly. Worked on Monday, didn't want to work today. Don't know why, don't get it, but welcome to the world of electronics and technology. It's always a good time. So if the audio is a little off, I apologize, but that said, thank you guys for checking out the video. Today we're going to be talking about dynasty sells and our number one guy at each position that we would be trying to move on from this offseason. And, you know, the hardest position for me was definitely wide receiver, but we're going to get into that here in just a little bit. There's a lot of fun wide receivers for sure. But my co-host today is going to be Dale Terry. How are we doing today, Dale?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. It's the last day of July, feeling great. Football officially starts tomorrow, so things are looking up. Things are looking spectacular. We've had some new rule changes with the kickoffs and stuff like that, and they just announced, I think yesterday would have been Tuesday, that stuff with the onside kick rules and all that, and that's making it the real NFL. It's a not fun league in my opinion.
Yeah,
it is. But I'm really excited football's going to start. It's football, but it's still football tomorrow, so it's all good.
Yeah. I keep saying they need to put some sort of incentive towards it, but, they don't listen to me. They don't pay me for that, so it is what it is. But, only a couple more weeks until we have actual real football in here, so get your trades in, get your practice for your redrafts in. But yeah, we're going to be talking about some guys that I think we should be looking to sell before the season, while you can still get peak value on all of them. I tried to pick a top 12 or top 24 for the running backs. You got to go a little bit deeper. Running backs are worthless as it is. So we tried to keep it pretty big names that we think that are going to underperform pretty heavily in this year, and cascading that into the future as well. Before we get into that, though, if you guys can, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave us a like, leave us a comment, let me know how the audio sounds. Again, if it sounds rough, I do apologize. I'm going to try and get it figured out for Friday and that live stream that we've got going on over there, but I've got to work with what I've got right now. So let me know in the comments if it sounds okay, and we do appreciate you guys checking out the video. We are going to jump off here with the quarterback position. And do you want to go first? Do you want me to?
I will let you go first since you let me go first last time.
All right.
My picks.
Yeah. All right. So this one's going to be a bold one, I should say. The quarterback that I am all the way out on for 2024 at current value is going to be, unfortunately, a guy that I love quite a bit. It's going to be CJ Stroud. And
tell us why you're out on it.
Okay. All right. I love CJ Stroud. I was in on CJ Stroud last year. He was my number one quarterback. He should not be the number one quarterback. That's kind of the problem here. He's currently the quarterback number 3 in Dynasty. Yeah. And that's the biggest issue for me is it's just he's so overvalued for Dynasty that I don't think he can ever live up to it. And, you look at his season last year, he only played 15 games. So, over a whole 17 game pace, this changes just a smidge, but he had 281 points, finishes the quarterback number 11 in 4-point passing touchdown leagues, threw for 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He doesn't really run, but he still had 167 yards on the ground, 3 rushing touchdowns, which is a little bit surprising for how immobile CJ Stroud kind of tends to be. But when you look at those stats, you're like, oh man, he was a rookie and he was able to do all that. Yeah, the yardage is kind of almost at a peak. I mean, you're going to see maybe an extra 400 yards total peak. Not many quarterbacks are thrown for 5,000 yards ever, and I love CJ Stroud, but I don't think he's a 5,000 perennial quarterback when it comes to yardage. 23 to 5 touchdown interception ratio is a good ratio there. And you could say, well, the touchdowns are going to go way, way up, with all the passing that he does and the improved weapons and everything. But realistically, what are we talking about? Maybe 7, 8 more touchdowns. He's around 30. With that probably comes another interception or two. So he's not completely peaked, but he's very, very close. And, the perfect season from CJ Stroud, we're talking probably around quarterback number 6 to 8 finish, right? Because of the lack of rushing for fantasy football. Now, he's young. He's only 22 years old, and you can have that for a very long time. So there is the stability factor in that for the longevity. But when you're going for fantasy football upside, right, and you're going to try and win your leagues, I don't really care about having CJ Stroud in 10 years. I'd rather have the freak of nature that can get me a ton more points now versus in 3 years, 4 years time, right? And I love CJ Stroud. I think he's extremely safe. So don't hear what I'm not saying. I do think that there is still a very high floor for CJ Stroud, but he's already at a ceiling, and I just don't see him ever living up to that. So why not cash out for a Caleb Williams plus, whatever that plus may be, a Justin Herbert plus, a Kyler Murray, who should have a big bounce back year this year. Another guy would be, for example, maybe you could even get Anthony Richardson plus, some of these freaking natures that if they hit for fantasy football, it's league winning, right? And you get that extra asset on top of it. So CJ Stroud, unfortunately, is my quarterback sell for 2024. And again, it's just, I think that he's not going to ever live up to quarterback number 3 overall. It's just so hard.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I do agree with that. I love CJ Stroud just as much as you do, but I get it. He's very high valued now, but I think if he shows us another year or two of that, and then he is sneaky athletic. He is sneaky. So I think if he adds some of that to his game, I think he does have some escapability that he just hasn't shown yet. He just hasn't had to. Has been the biggest thing in my opinion. So I don't disagree with it. I don't love it, but I don't disagree. So yeah, no, I fully see where you're at on that.
All right, who's your quarterback?
All right. Well, it's someone a little bit not as high as CJ Stroud, but I haven't liked him since he was taken number 1 overall a handful of years ago. In a very touted draft. I think it was 2021. Does that sound about right?
Sure.
I think that's when it it's somebody that got a recent contract extension, this offseason, was the one of many players that have gotten one. It's Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like Trevor Lawrence at all. He is a fumbling machine. He's a machine of fumbling the ball. As many of us have seen, like, they were doing a drill in training camp. This was probably about a week or so ago, and the coach was trying to poke the ball out, and the only player that fumbles it is Trevor Lawrence. So, he is in year 3 of Doug Peterson. It doesn't he didn't look as good last year. It was definitely, I guess you can say sophomore slump in that offense. He was trying to get some continuity with Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley's gone. They got Brian Thomas. They overpaid Gabe Davis. They have, they have a lot of interchanging parts. I just don't like where Jacksonville's going. I've been hearing a lot of reports that their offenses looked really bad compared to their defense in training camp and stuff like that. So I I'm just really worried about him. I'm not necessarily worried about some of his numbers are still going to be there. I mean, he's quarterback 13 last year. And he's getting drafted around that. But I just for the price that some people view as,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are getting a little bit less off of the orange train from what happened last year, but I just I just don't see it. I mean, I would rather have, well, like, it's players going around him. Brock Purdy, Tua. I would rather have Tua at this because I know he has 2 studs there, on the wide receiver. Drake May's around there. Um Jared Goff is even tempting. Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
I feel there's better options there than a turnover machine, Trevor Lawrence. So,
Yeah.
like he's almost as bad as Danny Dimes. It feels like.
All right,
And
now you've gone too far. You've
hey,
gone.
I know, blasphemy.
Yeah.
No, Danny Dimes up here. Trevor Lawrence is way down here.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. But I believe there is a stat where he's had
He does have a
almost
lot
as
of
many
turnovers.
yeah, almost as many turnovers as Danny Dimes here, man. So
Yeah, but he can actually complete a pass. That's the difference.
he can sometimes, but it was well, we in the dynasty community have a lot of recent bias. So the last game he played, he looked atrocious. He could not complete a ball. I watched that game. He could hardly complete a ball.
Yeah.
Against a pretty Tennessee team that was reeling at that point, and about to fire their coach. So I don't really have a lot of faith in what they're doing in Jacksonville on the offensive side. I think I don't know. I just don't like what's going on down there.
Yeah, and the hard part is too, they added so many extra pieces. There's so many. They added a lot of extra pieces, and I do like that for Trevor Lawrence. So if you have Trevor Lawrence, I do think it's improved for him. But what I meant to say is they have so many new quarterbacks right now with Caleb Williams, with Jaden Daniels. You have the guys from last year, Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud. Like the top 12 just continues to feel more and more cramped and tight. You've got guys that like Jared Goff who probably should be up there. Dak Prescott should probably be up there. And it's like, is Trevor Lawrence ever going to live up to that potential? I think at this point it's safe to say probably not. But yeah, it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough. But I'm with you. I like him a little bit more than you do this year, but I can see all the hesitation as well. So I can see it. All right, running backs. We're going to switch over to these guys. My running back that I'm out on and I don't believe in for this year is going to be Alvin Kamara with the New Orleans Saints. And I kind of did this with my Saints breakdown just a couple of weeks ago. So go check that out if you want a more thorough and in-depth coverage of Alvin Kamara specifically. But last year, he had 86 targets and 75 catches. Insane catch rate. Like, I know Alvin Kamara is really good at catching the ball, but that is still insane. Nine misses on 86 targets is nuts. The problem is, as for 466 yards, it was very, very bad yards per target. Yards per catch numbers were very mediocre as well. Check down Charlie, Derek Carr he's going to be good for that. But when you look at what this team has, and I just think that they are not going to be able to do what they did last year. Kendre Miller, all the negativity from the coaching staff, he's still there. And as long as he's healthy, I think he will carve out more of a role. 180 carries last year for Alvin Kamara in 13 games, 86 targets in 13 games. Those numbers are definitely outliers to me. You go back to Derek Carr's time in Las Vegas with the Raiders, and he never checked down to the running back that much, no matter in his entire tenure. I think his increased rapport with Chris Olave, A.T. Perry, Rashid Shaheed, you give him a little bit more of an offseason to develop together. And I do think that a lot of the target numbers are going to come down for Alvin Kamara. And in full PPR, obviously that's where you want to be, right? You want to be a high target guy with a lot of rushing yardage as well. But he was just extremely inefficient, and the head coach is playing for his job. He's not going to just let you be inefficient this year if it's not helping the offense. And I think that's where Alvin Kamara is going to be a little bit more of a casualty in that regard. Couple that with the fact that he'll be 30 this year, which is extremely old for a running back. Now, Kamara doesn't have as much usage on the ground as some of the traditional guys. He was always more of a pass-catching specialist, right, from a running back position. But he is old. He's very, very old. He's not some superstar athlete. He was always kind of a freak of nature with the ball, with what he could do and his balance and things like that. But he's not a superstar athlete. And I think that's why we've seen the efficiency numbers drop for 4 straight years now. And I think that it's just you couple it all together, a coaching staff that is probably not even going to make it to the trade deadline. To be honest with you, I think that they're going to fire the head coach pretty quickly in the season, Dennis Allen. I think he's a bad head coach. Personally, I was surprised they didn't do it in the offseason, and I think they're going to start off pretty poorly, and he's going to make questionable decisions. The players are not going to like him, and it's ultimately going to get him fired. And after that, who knows? The team will be in chaos. So Alvin Kamara, the problem with him is just the value. Currently, he's the running back number 21. You've got guys like Najee going behind him. Zamir White, I'd even probably prefer because I think he has more of a path to workhorse usage there. But some of the other guys, like I'd rather have Aaron Jones with Minnesota than I would Alvin Kamara, right? I'd rather have Javonte Williams. I'd rather have Brian Robinson, James Conner, Tony Pollard. A lot of guys I'd rather have over Alvin Kamara because I think that the passing numbers are the only thing keeping his dynasty value afloat right now.
Yeah, I agree with that part. But I still think he's going to get good volume this year. I've heard from Dennis Allen a very interesting quote about Kendre Miller.
Yeah.
Basically saying that was not a very it was a very damning quote. Basically saying that like he just needs to stay healthy so he can help the team.
Yeah. Which means if he's healthy though, he'll help the team.
It could be interesting. Yeah, it could be interesting. So I hear that, and I like that. I do like that because with running backs, it's kind of hard to know who's gonna stay good.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's the hardest part. Because you have the locked and loaded. Probably, I'd say like the top 5 or 6 guys are pretty solid.
Yeah.
For running back, and then after that, I feel it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, and when you finish as a top 12 guy, people have expectations that you're going to be able to do it again. And however unrealistic, like you look at the trades right now and what Alvin Kamara is going for in leagues out there. Alvin Kamara was traded for a 2025 first in a league, right? Like I would much rather have a random first next year for Alvin Kamara than Alvin Kamara, right? So I just think that you can get quite a bit for Alvin Kamara if you're trying to move on from him in your league. So who's your running back?
Jimmy, go bold or safe here, Calvin?
Bold. I already went bold with CJ Stroud. Come on,
man. Kyren Williams.
All right. I can see it.
Kyren Williams. It's not super bold, but it from where he finished and how he played last year. I feel that's pretty bold. So my other pick was gonna be Tajay Spears.
Yeah.
So that was gonna be my other pick, but I'm gonna go with Kyren. Kyren's going, in the top 9 running backs.
Yes, he's very very high.
And yes, he's going very very high with a huge injury, and he's been injured over the offseason. He's missed most of the OTAs with a foot injury. He started doing some of the volunteer activities again, but there's a lot of coach speak and Sean McVay's trying to tell people he's fine. Oh, he's fine, but he played 12 games last year. He missed half, the mid part of the season. When he was on the field, he's electric. He's great, but my biggest concern is I think they know what they got, Kyren Williams, and they probably know that they don't have a bunch behind him. I mean, they did draft Blake Corum, which is a decent run. Like, don't get me wrong, but he's not necessarily going to contend for the starting job straight up.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be more of a. I don't like using running back by committee. That's a pretty phrase at this point, but I think it's going to be a more shared workload, and I think there's going to be times where we don't see Kyren a lot. Like we saw him consistently. There were some games where he was on the field the whole time.
Yeah.
70-80% of the time, and that's a lot of workload on your body. As a running back especially. So in the last half of the year, I think his lowest snap percentage was 77. Well, it was 61, but that was him coming off it. So, I think they're going to. I think they're going to play a little workload management on him, and he's not going to be running back 7 this year. I think he's going to
Right.
be more towards an RB2-ish, probably 15 to 20 guy compared to what he was last year and what a lot of people are.
Yeah, I could see his usage coming down quite a bit this year, but his efficiency kind of staying high, right? And
the same, yes,
yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about the rookie coming in is just I do believe that they're going to utilize him a little bit more. And Blake Corum's a good running back too. Coming out, people were pretty excited about him, and he was kind of looking back to form towards the end of the college playoffs and everything. So I'm excited to see what Blake Corum, muscle hamster 2.0 that he is. I do think that
and I do think he's going to take some of the short yardage away from Kyron Williams,
right?
And some of his 12 touchdowns last year.
That's
going to be the big thing, is that he's going to take away some of those touchdowns.
The craziest thing for me was when you look back at Kyron Williams' stats from last year, a lot of his actual fantasy production did not come from the passing game, which a lot of people, when you think of Kyron Williams, you think he was very efficient in the passing game, right? Like that's kind of at least when I think of Kyron Williams, I think he was a good pass catching running back. He was extremely efficient through the ground game and the touchdowns, which for a smaller guy who's injury prone, I'm with you. That's where it scares me.
Yeah. It's in the yardage and the touchdowns are not sticky stats.
No, well, they can't. The yardage can be, but
yardage can be, but it's touchdowns aren't sticky stats. I mean, he was running at 5 yards a carry last.
Yeah, it's nuts. With an offensive line that was supposed to be like bottom 3 in the league, right?
That was subpar. But but with that, like he only got 200 yards through.
Right. So
that's not really his role, and I can see Blake Corum doing some of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wanted to just point out a couple of trades that Kyron Williams has gone for in a couple of leagues out there. So in one league, Kyron Williams was traded for Jalen Waddle straight up. Another league, Nico Collins straight up. So you're talking some decent wide receiver 1-for-1s, and these are all trades that happened today. So Kyron Williams for Chris Olave straight up, first round pick, and Aaron Jones. So I think there is some pretty solid value to try and swap him if you're looking to go for one of those receivers with a running back needy team. But you got to be careful with that, especially if, Kyron Williams for Brandon Ayuk yesterday was another trade. So that's roughly what he's valued at, and I can see it. And if you can find that one guy in your league who still loves Kyron Williams and thinks that, he's the next Todd Gurley, I'd be definitely trying to target that person in a trade for one of their receivers of that value. So, all right, receiver. Oh man, this was tough. This was very tough.
It is very tough. I very much agree with that, because there's like 30 top 10 guys.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
No,
so
it does feel like
I was like, man, I want to pick a top 12 guy, but I look at the top 12, and like the only guy that I have an issue with is AJ Brown and Justin Jefferson. Where I've already talked about Justin Jefferson, I just don't see him finishing as a wide receiver 1 anytime in the next 5 years. But then AJ Brown, it's hard to bet against AJ Brown, man. He just got paid so much money. So then you keep going through, and I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of out on Roma Dunze, but everyone's kind of out on him. Yeah, I'm out on Drake London.
Come on.
No, but even Roma Dunze, it's like, even if I'm out on him, so is everyone else. Like, nobody should be expecting him at wide receiver 15 to be a superstar. It's because he's young and he's tied to Caleb Williams, right? So even being out on Roma Dunze, it felt silly. So I had to slink all the way down to wide receiver 23. Still picked a top 24 guy, but this is a guy that I have loved since he came in the NFL. I just do not love his fantasy value, and that's going to be Deebo Samuel with the 49ers.
Okay.
Currently wide receiver number 23 overall. You look at Deebo's history, right? Last year he finished as the wide receiver number 15, which is crazy because it was they were the lowest. The Niners were the lowest passing team in the NFL last year, and he still finished. They had 2 top 15 receivers with Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Now, Last year was a good year for Debo. The year before, wide receiver 40. The year before that, wide receiver 3, 96, 32. Like, he's definitely had 2 good, amazing seasons. Ever since they've got Christian McCaffrey, they've taken the running portion of the offense away from him. He's still used as a gadget player a little bit in that way, but he's not a primary running back like he was in 2021, where I think he had like 9 rushing touchdowns that year. They just used him like a running back basically, until they got Christian McCaffrey. I do think that they're going to pay Brandon Ayuk. I just think it's impossible that they don't sign Brandon Ayuk to a long-term contract. What I think is going to happen, and this is what I've been saying all offseason, they drafted Ricky Pearsall as a first rounder. They are moving on from Debo next year because they can save a ton of money from his contract. They're going to trade him for a 3rd rounder, 4th rounder, 5th rounder, whatever they can get for Debo next year. They're going to move on from him, or they'll sign him to a long extension where he takes a pay cut. That's the only way I can see this working out. I don't think Debo will do that because he's 28 years old. He'll be 29 at next year. Debo, I don't believe, can finish as a top 20 receiver this year. I'm betting against the health for whatever reason. People in San Francisco just get banged up a lot. Their offensive line is definitely downgraded as well. There's been some small reports. You hear the rumors of it out of training camp, but they try and the Niners beat reporters. You have to be very careful with some of these teams because they will not report negatives at all. And the Niners are one of those teams. So to find the negative news on the Niners is extremely difficult. So just to put that out there, their offensive line is going to be a little bit of a problem this year. And if Purdy cannot keep it going, if they can't keep Purdy safe in the pocket, they're going to lean on the run game even more, which is great for Christian McCaffrey, but it's going to be bad for the receivers. And I do think that when you need to pass the ball in a standard traditional passing set, it's going to be going more to Ayuk than is going to be going to Debo. So I just don't think that he can live up to even wide receiver 23. And he's older, and I think he's going to be gone next year, and he's tied to a good offense and good quarterback now. You don't know where he's going to go in 2025. So I'm kind of out on Debo. He's just too rich for my blood. I've loved him. I wish the Patriots would have signed him years ago, but they didn't. But if you can still get a first-round pick, some of these trades...
Oh, yeah.
Some of these trades are just wild for me. Debo Samuel for Javonte Williams and a first. Like, that's nuts. Yeah, right? Like Debo Samuel for Ladd McConkey. Debo Samuel, an upgrade in the first round. So basically Debo and a late first for Malik Neighbors, essentially. It's just Debo Samuel for Rashee Rice and a second. Like, I think that there's still some good value on Debo's name. I'd be looking to cash out personally if it was me.
Yeah. I think I've been wanting to cash out on Debo for the past couple years. Just being honest. The injury history, it's the emergence of Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
I don't think once they got Christian McCaffrey,
it changed his role so much.
It did. It changed it drastically because it was before that he was the Christian McCaffrey of that offense.
Yes. Yep.
And now he's just another player. He's playing 3rd, 4th fiddle in this offense of riches. So from what I've been hearing, I'm kind of expecting Brandon Ayuk to get an extension. So, he's going to be there for a little bit. I think Debo's going to be kind of on the outs in San Francisco.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, let's hear your guy.
I have a guy that's kind of around your frame, with ADP. I thought about taking, Pittman. I even thought about trolling you with Drake London, but I do think Drake London's going to have a pretty good year.
Hey,
so,
if you want that on your record, go ahead, brother.
Hey, I'm not. I'm bold, but I'm not doing that to you, or to myself even at that point. But I'm going with Jordan Addison.
Okay.
So
all right.
Yeah. So he was a dynasty darling last year. He finished as wide receiver 23.
He's currently wide receiver 28. Go ahead.
Yeah. So he's wide receiver 28. So I know that's not top 24, but I feel it's hard to find guys in that top range that
You want to sell? You're right.
yeah, that you want to sell. I would want to buy guys less than him at the or so but he played when he was really great when Justin Jefferson wasn't on the field.
Right. Or
So,
TJ Hawkinson.
or TJ yeah, I was getting there with TJ Hawkinson. So, he really benefited um from not having those guys there. Unfortunately, he didn't really have Kirk throwing him the ball very much.
Yeah. Half the season.
Yeah, it was about half the season. And had multiple arrests in his short tenure, in the NFL, and that worries me. Um, I have a I kind of feel there's going to be some discipline. I think there should be for that, but that's just me. But um, I'm just kind of out on this Vikings offense. I was almost going to make TJ Hawkinson not my guy for the
Mm-hmm.
tight end, but that felt a little rude and excessive to this point. But yeah, it's this offense with JJ McCarthy or slash Sam Darnold is going to
Mm-hmm.
be clunky for a while.
Yes.
It's not going to be pretty. It's going to run through Justin Jefferson. It's
Yep.
going to be Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones. And I know TJ Hawkinson is going to come back eventually, but and that's going to make Addison's value drive even down. So, I can see him having a early season doing kind of well early season, but I can see him being maybe a middling wide receiver 3. That's kind of where he's getting drafted at, but I don't want any part of.
Yeah, and I get it. I'm with you 100%. I mean, anybody that's dumb enough to get caught drunk driving the same, like 2 days after your teammate died from a drunk driver, it's
Yeah.
that's
it is not a good look.
Yeah, definitely not. On Sleeper, he is going as the wide receiver 23, so he is a top 24 on Sleeper, but he's rated consensus-wise as the wide receiver 28, so for what it's worth. But, yeah, it's not looking great. It's not looking great, and this is you didn't even pair into some of the quarterback stuff, but I'm going to because you mentioned it. You didn't want to make him your tight end sell. I will make him my tight end sell, and I always plan on it. TJ Hawkinson is my tight end number sell. I do think that when you look at the offense alone, right, and just talking about JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold, it's going to be clunky, like you mentioned, but at the same time, it's also going to be bad. It's not going to be a good offense. And when you pair that with the fact that this team has lost, I think, 3 of their starting cornerbacks over the last couple of weeks, the offseason, it's not good. Their defense is going to be bad. Brian Flores is going to try and blitz on every single play just to try and cover it up. But once he gets found out, man, Brian Flores is not going to have a ton of tricks in the bag. So once this defense gets caught out, it's going to be very bad, where teams are going to be putting up a lot of points on them, and you're going to have to lean to a rookie or Sam Darnold to catch you up. Not going to be great. I'm not the biggest J.J. McCarthy fan. I do think that he'll be serviceable for someone like Justin Jefferson. I still think Justin Jefferson is going to finish as top 12. I'm out on Jordan Addison just like you are for the exact same reasons. And at the same time, I'm also out on TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
He tore his ACL in week 16 last year. Week 16 last year. That would put it right around January, right? Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, right before Christmas. So you were talking literally 7 months ago. Like, that's not enough time, man. He needs at least.
I would be shocked if he plays at all this.
They're talking about he's going to be there. They're going to put him on the PUP to start the season, and they're saying week 6 is when he's targeting to play.
Active.
Yeah, and even then, I don't think I trust him. Like, I don't think I trust him at all for 2024, just like you mentioned. And again, in 2025. Is he really going to be that valuable fantasy-wise? He's currently the tight end number 8. you've got guys on the list that I think are going to make a resurgence up this list. You've got guys like Jake Ferguson at 11. You've got Pat Fryermuth at 13, and I think Pat Fryermuth is undervalued. Dallas Goedert is tight end number 15. I get the hesitancy on Dallas Goedert, but man, 15. Like, what are we doing there? Isaiah Likely's down there. There's been a lot of good hype around him. Dalton Schultz is down there, and he had a pretty good year with CJ Stroud. So there's a lot of guys I think that could push to surpass TJ Hawkinson at tight end number 8 just next year. So is there ever really going to be a better time to sell him in my mind? I don't think so. And when you look at Sleeper, he's currently going as the tight end number 4 overall, so a little bit higher value there. It's just I don't see him playing for a majority of the season, and when he does come back, he's not going to be healthy. You're going to be starting in mid-season, right, where everyone else is in form and you're not. So it's just all the signs are pointing down for TJ Hawkinson. I would be completely selling if I were a TJ Hawkinson owner right now. So
what do you think you can get for TJ Hawkinson?
Well, if I pull it up,
well, in a non-tight end premium,
right?
So tight end scoring.
Looking at it, he went for a 2025 first. Jacoby Myers, that is surprising. That's a sell low if I ever saw it. He sold him for Trey Benson and a 2025 first. So if you could get something along that lines, I would be all the way in on that.
All over that.
A lot of the trades right now with TJ Hawkinson, like Dallas Goedert in a 2026 first, like, yes, please, 100% there. TJ Hawkinson for Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson for Xavier Worthy. So there's a lot of different trades. A lot of them are also TJ Hawkinson plus like a second for, like a Trey McBride or, trying to move up in value as well. So I would be looking to move on, whether you package him with something and move up, or if you are, tearing down essentially and getting a little bit more on top of it. Doesn't matter which way you go with it, just get out from TJ Hawkinson because he is going to be an anchor that just weighs your roster down.
Yes, and if you can keep him, you can throw him on the IR or whatever. He's just, he's 20. How old is he? 7?
Yeah.
Yes. He's 27. It's and off an ACL tear. It's going to take him a full year just to get feeling normal again.
Right.
That's why I don't think he's really going to play this year. I can see him being active and doing some snaps, but not really being the TJ Hawkinson he was with Kirk Cousins. His offense is going to be probably one of the worst in the NFL. One of. So, OUT out, and I get that. And I like TJ Hawkinson. I have him in a league. I really like him. I was glad to have him. Sad that he got a.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's hear yours.
So I've been toying with mine, and I feel a lot of these tight ends that are kind of in the top 12ish are pretty fairly ranked, stuff like that. I thought about going with Dallas Goedert, and that kind of felt like a get out of jail card in my opinion. So, I picked Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce.
Okay.
And I don't like that. Now that I say that, he's gonna come with a vengeance and the tight end 1 or something stupid in my opinion. But he's been great. He's been fantastic. I just know he's had a lot of extra things go on in his life that's not football. So, it's this past year. It was the first year in about 7-8 years that he was under 1,000 yards. One of his least scoring years in the last 7 or 8 years. even playing 15 games. So,
Yeah.
with the Kansas City offense adding Hollywood Brown, they added Xavier Worthy. They still have Rashee Rice for right now, for the whole year right now.
Yep.
And they have other weapons around him, and they've seen with the other tight end and Noah Gray that he can be serviceable as well. And they drafted Jared Wiley, and they have it's a ghost of Irv Smith on the roster. So like they have a lot of different targets there. That's not named Travis Kelce. They don't necessarily need to go to him all the time.
Yeah.
So
I think too, to couple with that as well, is you saw a little bit of this last year. If you go back a year in time, everyone was very excited about Travis Kelce, and he was okay to start the season. He wasn't what everyone kind of hoped he would be. And as the season kind of progressed, he started dating Taylor Swift, and you saw him kind of really pack on some poundage there in the middle. He was not the Greek god Zeus, like his nickname, right?
Yeah.
But I think what they started to do towards the back end of the season last year was they tried to rest him up and save him for the playoffs and try and make sure that he's healthy, because basically the Chiefs know that they're making playoffs. There's no world where they're not making playoffs as at least a wild card, but probably a top 4 seed, right? Maybe the number 1 overall. So if they can get the number 1 seed and rest Travis Kelce throughout the whole, not lean on him as heavily, I'm with you, man. I don't see why they would try and kill their older player just to, win a couple of meaningless games in the middle of the season, right? Now, not every game is meaningless. Every game matters, but whatever.
It does. But in the whole scheme of it, when there's only one bye now, and with them being in a piss poor,
it's an easy division at least.
the division right now, it's pretty down at this point. It's about as down as it's ever been in this Chief reign here.
Yep.
So, I still think he's going to score really well, but But we saw last year. I mean, it's from his tight end 1 season in 2022 to the last year in 23. He scored almost 100 points less. Almost 100 points.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I think it's going to come down even more.
Yes.
So,
I mean, his 22 year was off the charts.
Right.
So he still finished tight end 3. So, I expect him to do probably similar to that, but I do think there's other tight ends that I'd rather have, and I think his shelf life is
it's past expiration date.
It is there. So
it's the milk. It's the milk in the fridge that says "drink by yesterday," but you sniff it and it still smells good. All right, it still smells all right, but you know that any day now it could just be completely rotten. Yeah. Do you know? So here, really quick side joke on that. My wife has never, before we got married, had never smelled bad milk before. So she would always have me check the milk because, I've done it and I've drank the bad milk without realizing it had gone rotten. Most people out there have probably done that. It's not a good taste. It doesn't taste very good. But she never could tell when milk was bad. And it would be I would sniff it and I could smell it as soon as she took the cap off, that bad, right? And she's like, is this bad? I'm like, oh yeah, that needs to go. So she had no idea what to smell for that. So don't let that be Travis Kelce for you. Know when to get out. That's the moral of the story.
And I kind of feel the selling window for him was started last year.
Yeah. It did.
So, I still think you can get a pretty good penny for Travis Kelce.
Yes.
I'm not, by any means, you're not going to get a Trey McBride, Sam Laporta, Kincaid, Matthew.
No, but
Bowers.
That's kind of the point, though, right? At the same time, it's the tight end position has never been better. So why not cash out and just get someone else, right? Even if you have to pay up a little bit with Travis Kelce, just set yourself up for the future. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm with you. Tight end is actually becoming fun again. Let's something to rejoice. Something to rejoice. So those are not our guys, I guess. Those are not our guys. We are completely out on them in 2024. And guys like Stroud, it's bold, but and you guys can let me know in the comments down below why I'm an idiot and why CJ Stroud is God's gift to football. But it's just
he is.
It's all just value, man. It's all value. It's all value. So let us know your thoughts down below, who you agree with, who you disagree with. You can follow us over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale, or the podcast at FF After Dark. Again, apologies for the bad audio if it does sound wrong. I can't tell because I can't hear myself. I sound great to myself, but I don't know how you guys can hear me. So let me know in the comments too if it does sound bad, and I'm going to try and fix it by Friday. Dale, any last thoughts here on this video?
Send it on home, man.
All right, well, thank you guys again for checking this out. Please subscribe to the video for all of our content that we're going to be putting out. We'll figure something out here in a couple weeks when Dale disappears with his baby, but we'll have a fun time either way. So he won't be. It'll be what's that saying? It's not gone forever, but it's gone for now, or goodbye for now, or
something.
I don't know. I don't know stupid sayings, but all right, that's enough. It's way past my bedtime. I gotta get to bed. So thank you guys for joining us, and until next time, have a good night.
And we all got dreams. We all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?